Hi, everyone. We hope you guys are having a spectacular day out there. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is Mr. Tiska with you once again. And once again, I'm joined by Mrs. Kraft. Mrs. Kraft, how are you?
I am looking forward to carrying out today's lesson.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. We also have Miss Hoff with us. Miss Hoff, how are you?
I can't wait to execute today's lesson.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there. All right, so today we're going to focus on our second branch of government, the executive branch.
And the main idea that we're going to talk about is the executive branch enforces the nation's laws.
Okay, so Article 2 of the Constitution lists the powers of the executive branch, which, as Ms. Hoff just mentioned, and Mrs. Kraft as well, the executive branch's main job is to carry out or to enforce the laws passed by Congress. Now, the head of the executive branch is the president, and the second in command of the executive branch is the vice president. Both serve 4-year terms, and both actually have limits. A president cannot serve more than 2 terms in office. However, just a little piece of trivia for you guys, the maximum amount of years that a president can serve, most people would say it's 8. It's actually 10. So 10 years is the maximum amount of time that a person can be president. Now, the qualifications for being president and vice president must be 35 years old, must be a resident of the U.S. for 14 years, and a natural born citizen. That means that you have to have been born within the United States. Now, the qualifications are the same for president and vice president because if the president dies or resigns, which means to quit, or is somehow removed from office, the vice president takes over and becomes president. And by the way, that extends to even if the president, say, is going in for surgery and has to be given medicine to put them under so they can withstand the surgery, the vice president could be sworn in as president just for a short amount of time until the president can actually fulfill his role again. Now, one thing that I want you guys to understand, the president can be removed from office. The House of Representatives, which is part of Congress, can impeach or vote to charge the president with serious crimes. As of the screencast, it actually happened 3 times within our history. Now, once a president is impeached, the Senate will try impeachment cases, and they will vote on whether or not to remove the president from office. And if the president is removed from office, then of course, as I mentioned a second ago, the vice president would take over. Now, being president is a very hard and difficult job because there are a lot of responsibilities and a lot of powers associated with the position, which is what Mrs. Kraft is going to talk to you guys about right now.
Okay, so the president has certain powers. He can get a law that Congress makes brought to his desk. And if he likes it, he signs it and then it goes into effect. But if he doesn't like that law, he can veto it. And that is V-E-T-O, veto. And that means that he says, isn't happening. Now, it doesn't end there, though. So Congress can actually go back and override his veto with a 2/3 majority vote, which is super hard to get. So it doesn't usually happen. The other thing that presidential power is he has something called the power to issue an executive order. And so that means it's almost a way around going through the legal process. If he feels that there's something that has to happen right away, he can issue this executive order, which makes it happen. And these orders are affect the Constitution, treaties, and statutes. Now, the other thing a president can do is he can grant a pardon. So every year, the president is presented with many different people that are in jail that are looking for the president to pardon him. So he can go through them case by case and issue certain pardons. You can even pardon a past president, which has happened in history. And then they will not be convicted of any crimes moving forward if they've been pardoned. Now, that's not the only thing that the president can do. He has other executive duties, which Ms. Hoff will tell you about.
All right. So other executive duties of the president. So the president commands the armed forces, Navy, Army, all that. While only the Congress can declare war, the president can call on the U.S. troops in case of an emergency. So if he needs them, he can call upon them, but he cannot. The Congress has to declare war. The executive branch also conducts foreign relations and creates treaties. So this is anything involving a foreign country. And the executive departments do most of the work of the executive branch. Now, in these departments, the president appoints heads of the department, which are called secretaries. And these secretaries make up the president's cabinet. So the cabinet is the president's trusted group of advisors and secretaries that head the executive departments.
And to give you an idea how government changed, when George Washington was the president, he had 3 secretaries. That was it, who were his advisors. Mr. Tiska, is it like 16 secretaries that the modern age president has now?
Yeah, I think it's 15 or 16, the last of which being the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, which was created after the 9/11 terror attacks. And just so you guys know, one big thing I want to mention, I had mentioned earlier how if the president, for whatever reason, can't do his job or resigns or is removed from office, the vice president takes over. There's actually a whole line of people behind the vice president. So if anything happens to the vice president, the next person would take over. It's called the presidential line of succession. It basically goes like this. If the president can't do his job, then you have the vice president. If for whatever reason the vice president can't do it, it goes to the Speaker of the House. If the Speaker of the House can't do it, it goes to the President pro tem. And if the President pro tem can't do it, then it goes to the President's cabinet in the order in which the position was created. So I believe the first cabinet position created was the Secretary of State. So it would go to the Secretary of State and then so on based on the year that the position was created. Just so you guys know, because I get this question every year. Well, what happens if everybody is wiped out? Well, just so you guys understand this, we have never
designated survivor.
We have never gotten the best vice president, and if we were ever to get into a situation like that, we got a lot bigger things to worry about at that point than who's going to be president. I'm worried about surviving.
Although there was this really great TV show called Designated Survivor.
I hate that show.
When they had all of these people in this one State of the Union address, and they all died at one time. But they had one person that doesn't go, and that is considered the designated survivor, so that everybody's not all in the same place at the same time. And also, the president and vice president never fly on the same plane.
And they actually, by the way, they actually will do that whole thing where they'll leave somebody out, like when the president gives a State of the Union address and a lot of the heads of government are there watching him, they always leave someone behind at an undisclosed location just in case the worst case scenario happens. Now, the reason I just hate that show is because it generates a lot of questions from you guys, the presidential line of secession, but that's
it's not on the air anymore. It got canceled.
Yeah, good. That's the screencast for another time. Mrs. Kraft, anything else you want to add?
No, this is good. Thanks for joining us today.
Miss Hoff, anything?
Nope. Have a great day, everyone.
Have a wonderful day, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.